Hey, welcome. It's Tuesday, September 12th, 2023. Time for another daily update here from the Classic Guitar Rock Podcast. I'm Jeremy. Thanks so much for tuning in. A few news items today. Aerosmith singer Steven Tyler has suffered vocal cord damage. Not the first time it's happened to this guy. And he's, what is he, in his 70s now? But it means the band has had to delay their current tour, their Peace Out farewell tour. They've rescheduled 6 new dates. Early 2024, this will affect shows in Detroit, Chicago, Washington, D.C., Toronto, Raleigh, and Cleveland. Tyler says, I'm heartbroken to say I have received strict doctor's orders not to sing for the next 30 days, he announced on Twitter. In fact, X. It's not Twitter anymore. It's X. But he says, hey, we want to give the fans a good show. So frustrating, of course, but you would rather see the band when he can sing. Makes sense, right? Brian May, who's actually like a smart guy, he has expressed his concerns, as have I, on numerous occasions, about the growing impact, influence, incursion of artificial intelligence in songwriting. In fact, he says, quote, I think by this time next year, the landscape will be completely different. He recently told Guitar Player, the quote continues, we won't know which way is up. We won't know what's been created by AI and what's been created by humans. Dun, dun, dun. He says, now this might be a little extreme here. He says these could be the last few years in which humans control music creation. That's kind of scary when you think about it. And just on an aside, for my real job, I work in the world of corporate learning and development. AI is a problem, right? Because a lot of people aren't creating their own content. They're going out to ChatGPT or some other AI website who does it for them. Now, the good news is you can usually tell AI stuff from real stuff because it's crap. But AI is getting better in terms of the quality of content. I don't know what this will mean to music. To be honest, I haven't thought much about it. But lyrically speaking, I could see this becoming a problem sooner than maybe some other aspects of it. I don't know. Computers have been involved in music, well, since computers came out. But this whole AI thing kind of takes it to a whole new level. So it'll be interesting to watch. And hopefully the computers don't take over the world, a la Judas Priest's Metal Gods. But it could happen. All right. Another little interesting thing. I'm always fascinated in Aussie guitarists. Why? Because Aussie has always had the best guitarists, and the best guitarists have always kind of gravitated toward Aussie, right? So when I saw this little snippet, I bit. How could I not bite on this? In a new interview with Canada's The Metal Voice, Dutch guitarist Adrian Vandenberg was asked if he was ever approached by Ozzy Osbourne or Kiss to join their bands. I thought that was very interesting. And it turns out, in fact, in 1983, when Vandenberg was opening for Ozzy, this would have been the Bark at the Moon tour, Ozzy did approach him about joining the band, which is interesting because Jakey Lee had just joined the band. Fascinating. So, and guys, Ozzy and Sharon's history is replete with having lots of excellent guitars in and out of their orbit. Ozzy approached Gary Moore. He approached Michael Schenker. He approached George Lynch. In fact, George Lynch was in the band for like 3 days. That's another story we'll talk about sometime. So this is just very fascinating. But here's, so they asked him, the Metal Voice asked him, was he ever approached by Ozzy, or did Ozzy ever ask him about joining the band? And Adrian says, a story that I never told before, but it was Ozzy, actually. The first time I met him during the tour when we started, but I must say he was not quite sober. He throws that in there, which is very unusual for Ozzy, of course. Laughs. Ha, ha, ha. But yes, his tour manager introduced me to him, and he was in the lunchroom at one of the hotels, and he said, Adrian, what do you want? Adrian, do you want to join my band? Okay, or however he would say it. And Adrian kind of just said, hey, well, you got Jake in the band. Jake's awesome, all that. And just kind of brushed it off because Ozzy wasn't totally sober. But he did find out later that Don Airey, who's currently in Deep Purple, and Don Airey, a phenomenal keyboard player who's played with like everyone, he actually was kind of interested in the prospect of an Adrian Vandenberg. He thought Adrian would be more like Randy than Jake was, with his classical background and that sort of thing. But interestingly enough, Adrian was not very familiar with Ozzy. He knew Black Sabbath, but he was not really familiar with the Ozzy solo material. He says he just wasn't that popular in Europe at the time, and that's obviously where Adrian was from. So he wasn't really aware of how big Ozzy was in the US until he opened for him on the tour. But I just thought that was interesting and would have been an interesting thing to think about. Adrian Vandenberg with Ozzy. All right, two last items. Both Kansas and Extreme are announcing new tour dates on their upcoming tours, and I would highly recommend, if you get a chance to see either Kansas or Extreme, the new Extreme album, guys, is really good. If you haven't heard any of that material, check it out. The new Winger album, by the way, really good. But anyways, Kansas and Extreme both adding new tour dates in early 2024. So if you have a chance to see either of those bands, see them. Guys, thanks so much. That's our update for today. And please check us out on the Classic Guitar Rock podcast. We'll see you. Bye-bye.